For me, after being a defense attorney for 13 years, the last 4 years I saw a lot of things getting worse. And so there's two things you can do: complain about it or do something about it. This job's a privilege to me. It's not a job, it's a calling, you know what I mean? Like, you actually get to help people. As a defense attorney, I help people 50 to 100 a year. With this, I can help 1,000,000. So it's a really big deal. It's very important to me. When you believe in God, you live for God. And I know there's life after death. So I'm here about my soul. I'm here about everybody else. Don't care about any personal agenda. My personal agenda is to get rid of the riffraff, make life better, and help everybody I can. And if you ever see one of my slogans, it's compassion and measurable justice. Compassion's important to me. We need a prosecutor that doesn't hate people, but wants to help. And so that's what I'm here for. If the public could understand my experience and what I have to offer, it shouldn't even be a close election. I think the biggest role of a county prosecutor is to enforce the law and to try to bring crime down. And what I've learned being a defense attorney the past 13 years is that it takes good judgment for this position. And what happens is if you punish somebody, you fix them. If you crush them, you create a new criminal. And so it's a delicate balance. And besides prosecuting cases, I think the most important role is good judgment to understand how to punish people so you don't crush them. Most people have four things, one of four traits: lack of faith, lack of family, hurt people, hurt others, or money. And so if you isolate the cause and you fix it, you fix a person's life. So that's why I'm really excited about it, because as a defense attorney, I help people 50 to 100 a year. With this, I can help 1,000,000. So it's a really big deal. It's very important to me. And I think the most important policy, being a leader, is having compassion. And so I live by the edict, love your neighbor like you love yourself. So I'm not a screamer, I'm an educator. And so what my goal is when I go in there to sit down with each employee and say, hey, tell me what you like, what don't you like, what do you think could be better, and where do you see yourself in the next few years? Because I think having progression and inspiration and motivation is huge. And I also think it's important that people care. I don't care what party you're from, but I care if you have faith, and I care about if you care people. And if you don't care about people, then you aren't going to be suited. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm a big believer in energy. And so if you have a bunch of good souls in the office, I think it's going to rise all tides in the community. I'm a big believer in God, and I'm going to bring that with me to the office. And so faith is important. There's a backlog of 250-something murder cases. I'm going to analyze every one, determine which one's murder or manslaughter, and then have pleas appropriate. Then the next thing I'm going to do is pick up these cases. So I'm going to be a trial attorney. I'll be taking the big cases. I don't delegate duties. I'll be the leader for sure. And the other thing I'm going to do right away is I'm going to walk into the juvenile department and I'm going to say, here's the deal. No juveniles going to prison unless it's murder or attempted murder. And then we're going to focus on rehab. I'm also going to set a standard that anybody steals a car, you're getting a year in prison. And the one thing that I really have to offer to this office, I don't know everything, but I know good ideas when I see them. And what I'm going to be telling the prosecutors is, I do not care if you win or lose. I care if you present a fair trial. The only way you get fired with me is by cheating people, because that's what I've been fighting. I'm going to give everybody the peace of mind. Oh my God, if I lose today, I don't get fired. It's, did you do your job? And if you did your job, you'll always have the job with me. It's twice a year. I'm going to host an event where everybody on probation is required to come, and all the resources are there. And so it's going to have resources and activities. And the reason why it's important to me is because guess who's going to be there? I am. So you're going to see the county prosecutor. It's also a way to have checks and balances. So if people don't think they're being treated fairly, they can tell me. And so I'm going to have an open door policy once a month with anybody can come into my office. Defendants, prosecutors, defense attorneys, anybody, and talk to me, because the only way I'm going to know what's going on is by hearing from the people. To get mercy, you pay restitution. So very simple is you make it a basis of a bargain. And so I'm 100% with you, but I also believe white-collar crimes are very bad, to be frank. I don't know about you, but I'd rather get punched in the face than you take $10,000 from me. And so I think if you're stealing from people, you gotta feel the wrath. And remember, that's why I'm here to punish people but not crush them. Because if you go to jail for a little bit, you wake up. If you go too long, you create a new criminal. And so restitution can help minimize their harm. It's also a condition of probation. Guess what? If you have restitution, it's because guess what? The fourth trait, lack of money. And so what I'm going to do is make sure they get a job. And when it comes to the crimes of cars, listen, I was a teenager too. I stole a candy bar, not a car. And the thing about cars to me, they're more dangerous than people realize. Like, think about it. It could kill. They don't have a driver's license and they're fleeing in fear. Those are dangerous remedies. So with me, you can count on anybody that steals a car, I'm going to be seeking a year. In the last 2.5 years, there's 1,100 stolen cars, 400 by repeat offenders. Don't blame the kids, blame the prosecutor's office. Because if they did a little bit in jail, they would have never, ever did it again and again and again. And that's where, again, punishing and crushing is a huge deal. I can't emphasize that enough. So when I think about diversion, I think about what crimes justify that. And it's your low-level felonies, the 5 and 4s, and they have diversion for that already. So all I would do is when I get in there is, again, ask the people that are running it that have more information than me, what's working, what's not working, how can we make it better? Diversion's like another word for probation typically. And so what you do is those 4 things I said: lack of faith, lack of family, hurt people, hurt others, or lack of money. So I'd have a diversion focus on those 4 things. Now I hear there's supposed to be a separation of church and state, but if I can force people to get alcohol treatment, anger management, why not faith? Because there's a difference between believing in God and living for God, right? And if you believe in God and you know He exists, you treat people differently. It's all about awareness. It's all about help. It's all about caring. And if you ever see one of my slogans, it's compassion and measurable justice. Compassion's important to me. We need a prosecutor that doesn't hate people but wants to help. And so that's what I'm here for. I can't wait to punish the people that have been getting away with stuff. No, count on it. And every county has different standards and procedures. I'm going to create an environment, a template for all county offices to use. And I'll tell you right now, there won't be a single child crime. And I mean crimes against children, like 10, 12. Nobody gets mercy in my office for that. The penalty should be higher. Same thing with murder. I have no mercy for murderers. You don't take a life over a little bit of anger. And look at my career. I've never once represented a murderer. So there's definitely crimes that I have no mercy on, but there's not a single crime I won't prosecute. And quite frankly, what I will prosecute is election fraud. And that's one that no administrations have. And you can count on it, because then guess what that does? It brings awareness to the public that these issues actually exist. So I'll prosecute any crime. Some I'm going to punish even harder. Count on that. I love people, and anybody that wants to hurt my people, I'm after. Count on that for sure. I'll tell you what I'm really going to do. I'm going to do the right thing. And how do you do the right thing? Very simple. You let the Ohio Bureau of Investigation do the investigation. And the reason why is because they aren't affiliated with Franklin County. It's supposed to be fair and impartial. Once they complete their investigation, the file comes to my office and I present it to the grand jury. End of story. No one person should determine whether or not somebody's conduct is rightful or not. I'm going to treat the police the way they should be treated, because here's the truth. Without police, our society would collapse. I love police. And so what I'm going to do is 3 things for the police. Number 1, I'm going to be a counselor, not cover-upper. So if they violate people's rights, which I've been protecting, I'm not going to advocate for and act like it didn't happen by arguing a motion to suppress. I'm going to tell them they did wrong, and I'm also going to tell them when they do right. Number 2, I'm going to listen to them, right? Because here's the thing. It might be your first crime, but maybe it's the first time you got caught, right? And the police know who I'm dealing with. So listening to them is more important. And number 3, I'm going to prosecute them. Because if you're a good lawyer, if you're a good doctor, if you're a good cop, you don't want bad apples in your profession. And so it's extremely important for me to prosecute the police and me be the leader, so the public knows that I am that guy. And that guy means what? I only have one affiliation, that's with God and only God. Nobody else can control me. My role would be, honestly, just to focus on the criminal, because that's more important. Like, what do you care more about? Life or money? And I care more about life. So no, I mean, you got to do priorities, and my priority is freedom and people's safety and security, and more importantly, to send a message to all the police that this isn't going to happen anymore. It's kind of the same thing with the cars, right? Like, when I come in there, it's like, okay, we actually have somebody that's going to, and then the same thing with the police. Because the police are going to love me, because what's going to happen is I'm going to bring integrity back to the justice system, because people are going to know that I'm not using murder to get political hits, right? And that's kind of what it's about. Like, I'm going to do what's right. Now, if I know them personally, that's when I'd use special counsel. But if I don't know them, I'm going to treat them like I treat anybody else. Because the thing is I don't want any bad apples anywhere. I want to be that guy that people say, he's an American, he don't care who you are, he just cares about justice and what's right. And that's why I'm doing this job. Number one, like at the beginning, I told you about standards and procedures. So what does that tell you? I don't care who your lawyer is. This is the deal you're going to get, end of story. Most importantly, bail. The purpose of bail is to secure their appearance and protect the public, not drain their savings. So what happens a lot in my profession is somebody say, John, how much money? I say $5,000. How much is your bail? $5,000. I'd rather be free. And so what they do is they post their bail, they fight their case for 4 or 6 months with a public defender, then they fire the public defender, then they hire me. Guess what that does? It restarts the timeline. So if you focus on doing the right thing with bail, they get to hire the lawyer they want, and then they get the plea they want. So the very easiest way for me to make the justice system more efficient is be fair and stern on all my offers. So whether you do it or not, it's going to be a kind of a grid. It's not going to be, how do I feel today? There's no personal involvement. It's all going to be about good judgment, fairness for everybody. Love your neighbor like you love yourself. I'll be the best boss I ever had because I'm the best boss I've ever had. I'm going to have training every week. When I worked in the public defender's office, every Friday there was a 1-hour thing around lunchtime that anybody could come by to learn. So it builds an environment. Another thing that's going to be important to me is if you work with me, you're going to be involved in the community. Another thing that I think is important is activities. Softball, kickball, whatever, right? And so it can't just be about work, it has to also be about fun. I'm also going to reward people. So if you have a trial, win or lose, you get to take a day off because I know how stressful they are. If you criticize people, you also have to have rewards. Is a lot of people become prosecutors, not necessarily for money, but because they want trial experience. You're going to get it with me. And I'm going to help you be a better lawyer. I can help anybody be a better lawyer because I know what it takes. If you got a good heart, you're my type of person. And so if you want to leave, good. You just saved me some trouble of getting rid of you. But I don't foresee anybody wanting to leave, honestly. If you ask me today, who would I fire? I can honestly tell you there's not a single person I'd fire. I think when people see somebody that cares and is skilled and actually is honest, one of my favorite sayings is the strongest energy isn't love, it's integrity. And so that to me, when you know somebody's honest, you know somebody's good, that's who you want. There's gonna be no brain drain, promise you that. And if they are, it's because they're lying to you. It's gonna be a lot of fun, actually.